What does the Bible say about gambling? Should Christians gamble? And is gambling a sin? If you've ever had questions about gambling from a Christian perspective, stay tuned. Hi guys, my name is Justin, and I want to welcome you to another episode of That Christian Vlogger, a place where you get to come and join me and experience faith in the first person. On this episode, we're asking ourselves the question, is gambling a sin? In many Christian circles, gambling is looked at as a very dark thing, the type of thing that no self-respecting Christian would ever do. Most Christians would not have a problem saying that, yes, gambling is definitely a sin, and the Bible is clear on that. However, I don't think the Bible is so black and white on the issue. Now, before you stone me for heresy, just hear me out. Contrary to popular belief, the Bible doesn't ever talk about gambling in a negative sense, not even once. In fact, the Bible has nothing to say about gambling at all. What the Bible does talk a lot about is stewardship and coveting. You see, the Bible talks about many times how placing material goods on a pedestal to be worshipped is a sinful thing. Consider Mark 8:36, where Jesus says, "What will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?" Or Hebrews 13:5 that says, "Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have." Or most famously in 1 Timothy 6 verse 10 that says, "The love of money is the root of all evil." You see, over and over again, the Bible makes it clear that the love of money and an unhealthy and unbalanced pursuit of money is in fact a sin. Now, this doesn't mean that being rich is a sin or working to get a raise is sinful. After all, believe me, I wouldn't oppose if my boss offered me a raise either, and I wouldn't be disappointed even in the least bit. What the Bible does say is that coveting others' worldly goods and being so consumed with financial success, namely to the neglect of spiritual wholeness or at the cost of your relationships, is a very unhealthy way to live, and that is certainly sinful. However, this doesn't actually answer the question, is gambling a sin? I actually think that depending upon who you are and the way you approach gambling determines whether or not that this is sinful for you. Here's what I mean by this. The other day, I was looking for something romantic to do with my beautiful wife, Emily. I stumbled across this website that had private hot air balloon rides for two that were available. Now get this, for a ride that will last only 2 or 3 hours, the rate was an insane number of over $650. Now I recognize for some of you guys, this really isn't a ton of money, but for a couple still trying to pay off their college loans, this is a little outside of our budget. Now, does this mean that riding a hot air balloon ride is sinful? Not necessarily. For those with a ton of money, $650 might just be a drop in the bucket and no big deal at all because it doesn't cause their families any undue financial stress at all. Or imagine if it was my honeymoon and I wanted to do something special for Emily, and so I saved up for something fun with her. Would it be sinful to ride the hot air balloon then? Again, as long as I'm not being an irresponsible steward and not running my family's budget into the ground, I don't see that there's anything wrong with it at all. Now replace going to the casino with my example of a hot air balloon. Is it wrong to budget a few $100s on a few hours of entertainment? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on who you are. If I'm in no financial position to be spending that money, then absolutely yes. But if I'm a wealthy man, then there's no real reason to think that spending a few $100s on some fun is wrong. Now, before you all run off to Vegas, let me just be frank with you. Just because gambling might technically not be a sin, it doesn't make it a wise thing to do either. You see, my late grandfather made millions of dollars back in the day from gambling. In fact, Caesar's Palace, which was one of the big time casinos back in the day, would fly the family out to Vegas, giving us the presidential suites for free just to get him in the doors. You see, the casinos knew that my grandfather didn't have the healthiest relationship to money. The casinos took advantage of my grandfather's compulsory nature to gambling, and they exploited the simple fact that gambling is addictive. You see, they knew if they could just get him in the door over and over, in the long run, they would win. And unfortunately, by the end of his life, the gambling cost my grandfather much more than he was ever willing to pay. It cost him not only all of his money since he died broke, but many of the family relationships along the way. You see, gambling is an incredibly dangerous vice to indulge for many people. Did you know that annual costs associated with gambling run over $17 billion a year? And those who become addicted to gambling oftentimes suffer from major depression-related disorders and are a higher risk for tobacco and drug abuse. And studies estimate that anywhere from 25 to 50% of those with an addiction to gambling end up abusing their spouses. And last but certainly not least, Georgia State University identified that over 73% of all people who are incarcerated are identified as chronic gamblers. So while in my opinion, I don't think that gambling is necessarily a sin, I still don't think it's something that Christians ought to do. Christ calls us to set a high standard and to aim for the best in all areas of our life. He calls us to be faithful stewards of both our time and our money, and to learn, as Paul said, to be content in every and any situation. Why? Because to us, God's grace and goodness in our lives is more than we're ever going to need. Well, that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. What do you think about gambling? Is gambling a sin? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, I just want to say thank you for watching, and if you're new to this channel, I want to encourage you to check out some of our other videos, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button below. Until next time, I'm That Christian Vlogger, and I want to encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.